Hello students, welcome to part 4 of how to program the video game Circle Wars using Scratch. So the next thing is we're going to have to add a code that tells you whether you've won the game or lost the game. Okay, so let's click on the player sprite, the blue circle, and we're gonna grab an if-then block. Okay? Actually, we're going to grab two if-then blocks and we're going to work on them separately and then we're going to attach them together. Okay, so let's go to the operators block and we'll grab a greater than for up here, greater than, and then we'll grab a less than for down here. So I'm going to keep these really separate so I don't confuse you. I probably should have done it separately, but you can see that if we work on them both, you can kind of see how they work together. Okay, so let's click on data and let's grab a score block and place it in the left opening of the greater than block. So if your score is greater than, and then in this one we're going to type in the value of 20. If your score is greater than 20, so we're going to put that in the top of the if-then arm. If your score is greater than 20, then, and then I want you to click on the looks blocks. And I want you to grab the block that says think. So think is, what's going to happen is it's going to have a thought bubble appear above that sprite. So I'm going to grab the think button, the think block, and place it inside. And then what it's going to think, what the player is going to think is victory. So put capital V and then with an exclamation point at the end. So we're going to have a thought bubble that says think victory. Then we'll go on the control blocks and then we'll click on, we'll grab stop inside the if then, and it will stop this script. So when your score is greater than 20, your player, your blue circle, will have a thought bubble appear that says victory, and then it's going to stop this script. So now that we've created this one, let's create the opposite situation. Okay, so let's click on, we're going to work on these blocks here. So let's go to data and score. So if your score is less than, now you got to make sure that this is a less than and this is a greater than. Your score is less than and minus 20, we're going to input that value, minus 20. If your score is less than minus 20, and then we'll grab the green block. The best way to do it is grab it right over the less than sign. If your score is less than negative 20, then we want one of the purple blocks. So let's go to looks, and then we'll have it think. So we're going to grab the think block. And this time, if your score is less than 20, the thought bubble appears and it's going to think defeat. Defeat. Okay, in other words, I've lost. Okay, so what else do we need? We need a stop button, stop block. So let's go to control and let's grab stop and place it underneath the think block and let's stop this script. Okay, so what we're going to do is we have two situations. If your score is greater than 20, then this is going to happen. But if your score is less than negative 20, this is going to happen. So let's lock these two blocks together. And then what we're going to do is this should now be attached here. These two if-then statements, they should be attached and I should be able to grab and move all of them at once. And what we're going to do is we're going to place it underneath the go to mouse pointer. So let's click on this and place it underneath go to mouse pointer. Okay. All right, so what we want to do is we want to test the game and we want to make sure that if we get a score greater than 20, you'll see a thought bubble appear that says victory. And if we get a score of less than 20, a thought bubble will appear that says defeat. So what you have to do is when you test the game, when you click on the green flag, you have to kind of play it a while so that you get one of those scores. Okay, it's much easier to get the minus 20 score, but I'm going to try to go for the positive 20 score first. We'll see how far I get. Like I said, it's very hard to win this game. I've got a negative score, so maybe it's easier for me. So I lost the game, and you see now how my player has the thought bubble defeat. The game continues, but my sprite has stopped. Okay, so I'm not going to have time to really play the game to try and win the game, but please, you take the time to make sure that you've won the game so that you see the thought bubble of victory, and that you've lost the game, which is much easier to do, and you see the thought bubble of defeat. Okay? So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a timer. To add some competition to the game, you can include an on-screen timer that shows players how long they take to complete the game. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to click on the data blocks and we're going to make a variable. So let's click on make a variable, which we've done before, and we're going to call this variable time. Okay, time for all sprites, and click OK. Make sure that the check mark is beside time, and a time counter should now appear on your stage. So let's move that to a different portion of the screen of the stage. Okay. Let's click on the player sprite, which I've already selected. Let's click on the player sprite. Okay, and let's go to the sensing blocks, and then we'll find the block that says reset timer. Reset timer, and we'll place that right underneath when we set the score to 0. Remember, when the game starts, we want the score to set to 0, and then we want the timer to reset to 0 as well. Okay. All right, let's go back to the data blocks, and then let's grab a set time to, and we'll grab it. We'll just place it over here for now. Set time to, and then we'll click on the sensing blocks, and then we'll grab the timer block and place it inside the circle of set time to. So we're going to set the time to timer at the end of the game. So we're going to place this at the very end, inside the forever loop, but outside the two if-then blocks. So the set time to timer is inside the forever loops, but below the if-then blocks. Okay? So every time the game is played, it's going to set the timer all over again. So what we can do is we can click on the green flag, and in the top right-hand corner, you can see the timer is going. If I press stop and then I start the game again, it should reset to 0. So that's how I know that the timer is working. Okay, so we haven't saved in a while. So let's go to File, Save. Okay, so now let's create a screen that shows the rules of the game. Players need to know the rules of the game. All right, so we're going to create a special sprite for that. So let's click on the Paint brush, Paint a new sprite, and then we're going to call it Instructions. So let's click on the little eye in the top left-hand corner, and let's call this sprite Instructions. So the instructions of the game is going to be its own sprite. Okay? All right, so let's make sure that bitmap mode is selected here, bitmap mode, and we're going to click on the fill with color, the paint can, and what I want to do is I want to choose a light color for the background. Okay, so I'm going to choose a light color, and then I'm going to try it. I'm going to click on the editor here, and then I'm going to fill that in with a nice color. I can change it. I can find the perfect color for my background. And again, you need to decide what light color you're going to use. So I'm going to use this light purple or lavender here. Okay. All right, so I'm going to click now on the text tool. And what I want is I want the text to appear in black. So I'm going to click on the black paint tile here. And then I'm going to click in the top left-hand corner to start my text box. So there's my text box here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to type out the instructions. I'm going to press pause. I'm going to type them out, and then I'm going to record again so you can see what the instructions are. Then you can pause, and then you can type them out. Okay? Okay, so I finished typing out the instructions. So here they are. Okay, so you can press pause as you type them, or you can type them as I read them to you. You are the blue circle, period. And then hit enter to drop down to the next line. Move using the mouse, period. Hit enter to move down to the next line. Be quick! Exclamation point. And then what I did was I hit enter twice so that I skipped the line to create a new paragraph. Try to touch the friendly green circles. Each one gives you 1 point. And again, at the end of every sentence, hit enter to drop down to the next line. Avoid the enemy red circles. Each one you touch takes 3 points. So hit enter twice to create a new paragraph. Score more than 20 to win. Score less than -20 and you lose. hit enter twice, press the space bar to start. Okay, so once you've typed it in, what we want to do is we want to adjust its position on the screen. So I can click on this tool here, it's the select tool, and then I'm going to click on the text box. So now that I've clicked on the text box, I've got these control points in the top, in the corners. So what I can do is I can adjust the size of the text, and then I can move it around so that it's kind of centered. So what I'm going to do is I'm purposely kind of leaving this area open because I'm going to draw some decorations here. Okay. So again, I can move the text box around, and if I grab one of the corners, I can expand, increase the size of the font, or push the square in, push the text box in, and make the font smaller. So now that I've got the size perfect, what I want to do is I just want to draw some decorations. So let's click on the circle tool. Let's click on the blue that I used for player. Let's make sure that it's going to color solidly. And I'm going to draw my circle here by holding the shift key. So I've got my circle. And then I'm going to choose the green that I use, and I'm going to draw a couple friends. And again, they don't have to be the exact same size as they are in the game. You're just decorating this screen here. And then I'm going to draw a couple enemies by clicking on red. And I'm going to hold the shift key, and I'll draw a couple red circles as well. Okay, so that's just, I've just decorated that instructions screen. Okay, so what we're going to do is, remember, this is its own sprite. So we're going to create a script for this sprite. So near the top, let's click on the scripts tab here. Let's save. I haven't saved in a while. So I've clicked on the scripts. So now let's create a script here. We'll go to events. When the green flag is clicked, we'll go to motion, and we'll go to X and Y. We'll go to X and Y, and we'll input the values of 0 for X and 0 for Y. So in other words, it's going to go to the center of the stage, the very center. Let's go to looks. Let's go to front. So what we want is we want this sprite appearing in front of all other sprites, and then we'll show the sprite. Let's click on the show button and the show block and place it underneath. Okay. Let's go to control, and let's wait until. Let's find the wait until block. The wait until, and then we'll go to the sensing blocks, and then we'll go key is pressed. So what key is pressed? Well, we asked them to press the space bar. So space is already highlighted here. So I've got when the space bar is pressed, and then when the space bar is pressed, I'm going to go back to looks, and I'm going to go to hide. Okay, so when the spacebar is pressed, the instructions need to be hidden. Okay. All right. So let's go to File, Save. Let's just check to make sure that the instructions appear. So let's click on the green flag, and here we go. We have the instructions appear, and I should press the space bar, and it should go away. Now the problem is that the game actually didn't wait for me to read the instructions and to press the space bar. So we need to adjust the other scripts, okay? The other sprites. Okay, so let's go to the player sprite, and let's add something here. So I've clicked on the player sprite, and I'm going to go to control, and I'm going to grab a wait until block. Wait until, and then I'll go to sensing, and then I'll go key is pressed. The space key is pressed, and I'll place this near the top here. So the blue player sprite will not start its script until the space bar is pressed. Okay, let's do the same thing for the friends. Let's click on the friends sprite. Let's click on control, and let's click on wait until. Wait until. Let's click on the sensing blocks. Let's go key spacebar is pressed, and we'll place it underneath the when the green flag is clicked here for friends, and then we'll do the same for enemies. Let's click on the enemies sprite. Let's do the same thing. Let's go to control. Let's grab wait until block. Let's go to sensing, and let's go key spacebar is pressed. When the space bar is pressed, and let's place it underneath the when the green flag is clicked. Okay, so we've done a similar thing to all three sprites, to the player sprite, to the friend sprite, and to the enemy sprite. So now when we run the game should not be running in the background so that the player has lots of time to read the instructions. Then when you hit the space bar, the game should begin. Everything should begin once you hit the space bar. Okay, so let's go to File, Save. This concludes part 4 of the video game project Circle Wars. Thanks for watching. Bye.